here. This is part of an attempt by us as a church to look to how we could support them as a family. So not just Chris, but all of you as a family as they proceed in their missionary career, if I can call it that. So why don't you come up and tell us a little bit today. Oh, and you have a beautiful helper. Fantastic.
Morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. Thank you, Dave, introducing me. I like that you called it MAF. I always get told off for calling it MAF, which sounds like naff, so they don't really like that. But so today I'm going to be talking a bit about MAF, what it is, because some of you probably know a bit about it through Christine, and some of you not so much. A bit about our journey. What did I actually graduate from? As you've all heard, I graduated from something. And what happens next now our time in Scotland is drawing to a close. So I thought I'd start with a video, because I like videos. I hope you like aeroplanes, because there's lots of them in it, but here we go. We can come back to the video at the end. How's that? Right, so Mission Aviation Fellowship is the largest charitable airline in the world. I think we have about 1,400 employees now, work in all kinds of countries across the world, raising support across Europe, America, Canada. These are some of the common questions I get asked. How many aircraft do we have is a really common one, and I'll have time for some questions at the end, so please feel free. If you've seen a different number to that, that changes very regularly as they get their wings taken off. Do we now count that as an aeroplane or not? Where are they in the world? Are they in service? All those different things. So MAF, or Mission Aviation Fellowship, we stand for delivering help, hope, and healing across the globe to people in isolation. So that can be as simple as medical evacuations, perhaps in somewhere like Madagascar. One of the journeys I know of there takes 4 days over land, and that's quite a harsh journey where you have to get on a minibus, get off the minibus, climb a hill, get on another minibus, just because of the weather there washes away the roads every year. So it really is quite some harsh environments. But those locations where perhaps you have a pregnant mother with a complicated birth situation, we could fly over that 4-day journey in just an hour. So it really is saving lives. We also support the local churches, help developing communities in all kinds of different ways. So help with all the programs you'd see by other charities. How they get there is often using MAF aircraft. So how do we fit into this? And the question earlier, what did I actually graduate from? So there's the before and after Scotland. So you can see it's changed me dramatically. I'll never be the same. So that was day one at air service training. I've signed up as an engineering trainee with MAF. So I didn't know much about engineering before. I worked in IT for MAF. So more fixing their software programs than anything physical. And this has been a 2-year course up here. Started with things like maths and physics, moving on to avionics, hydraulics, pneumatics, or as my instructor calls it, pneumatics, in his quite strong accent. And learning all about aircraft. So it's been, I think it's 13 exams, 3 essays, so been hard at study. The classroom makes for really boring pictures, though, so I've opted for the practical work, which was only about 500 hours by comparison to the 1,600 hours of theory. But here you can see is some of the hangar, some of the things we've been working on. So that big aircraft there with the propellers, that's me taking off the propeller, ready to take off the engines there. That aircraft has been stripped apart and put together by students over and over again, so fortunately we'll never see flight once more. It's probably missing too many bolts now. And some helicopters there as well. As you can see on the wall as well, we have students there from all over the world. It's not just MAF. This is just the place that they've chosen. One of the few places that can produce licensed aircraft engineers in the UK. So that's what we've been doing up here. We came from Folkestone. Has anyone heard of Folkestone here? Oh, a few. The next thing I was going to say is if I had no hands was, have you heard of the Channel Tunnel? Anyone? A few more? If no one was for that, I'd have to explain Disneyland, and that's how you get there. But yeah, I'm glad a few people have heard of it. So that was our journey up. The whole family has come with me as well for this training. And that brings us to where we are in the journey. So we are just finished the first point there, which is the AST training. So that's been 2 years of theory and practical training. But now it's time to get the practical experience. So the fastest way to get the license is to do this training, then get the practical experience, which is 2 years in the UK in a general aviation workshop. So that it's just working on regular aircraft that look very similar and function very similar to MAF planes. After that, I'll be fully qualified not only to do the work on the planes, but actually to lead teams of mechanics as well. We can hire mechanics all over the world, but engineers is in a massive shortage worldwide at the moment. And after that, we have a 3-month Bible school at All Nations, which myself and Kathleen will be attending, followed by a little bit of security training. Those of you who know me know I'm very much looking forward to that and seeing what we can ninja moves on the scenarios and things. And then at that point, that's when we hopefully find out which country we're actually going to. So we could be placed anywhere in Africa. We have some bases in Asia and even in the Northern Territories of Australia, which is actually a very remote place that not a lot of people have heard of. People think, Australia? But no, yeah, we could go there, and that's an option. So at the moment, we, as I said, have just finished that part. So I have an interview just this coming week, so please pray for that, for the placement. Hopefully that will be down in the Midlands, which would mean we'd have about another month or so here. But stand by on that. Well, we should know soon. So as Dave was saying, the church here has decided that they'd like to support us, and we're so grateful for that. We are fundraised, so we don't just get a salary straight from MAF. We have talked to many people, and many believers like yourselves have come forward and partnered with us, decided to pray and encourage and support financially as well. And I'd love to say, with all the prayer points especially, over the 2 years we've been here, we've put out so many different prayer requests in our prayer newsletters, and every single one of them has been answered miraculously. And we have a faithful God who does answer prayer. So please do consider signing up to pray for us and receiving that prayer letter. We also put some news in the Facebook page there as well, which I try to update. Hopefully we'll be updating a bit more now exam season has passed. I would have given you a web address, but no one likes that anymore, so I think just Google MAF Watkins, and as you can see, it does come up. So before I open up to ask if there's any questions about what I've rattled on very fast through today, and maybe see if the video is working. Do you think it'll be working, Keith? Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you so much to everyone here at Riverside for welcoming us in, as we've been passing by rather quickly in 2 years, and how the time has really flown here. But a special thanks to Christine as well for introducing us to Riverside, and for Dave and the team for pastoral care and everything, and especially when Kathleen had some illness, everyone really gathered around and made some meals, and that was really lovely, and just want to say a heartfelt thank you for that. So let's see if the video is working now. I can't seem to go back, Keith, so I'll let you control it, if that works. But while we're waiting for that, here we go.
Millions of people around the world live in hard-to-reach areas, in remote jungles, deserts, and mountains, cut off from life-giving resources and the message of the gospel. For over 75 years, Mission Aviation Fellowship has used airplanes to partner with hundreds of missionaries, churches, and organizations to bring help, hope, and healing to isolated people living in the most remote places on the planet. By serving together through generous donors, partners, and dedicated, well-trained staff, MAF gives isolated people access to medical care, education, clean water, food supplies, disaster relief, and the love of Jesus. Partner with MAF so that isolated people can be changed by the love of Christ.
So, are there any questions from anyone? I have had some really bizarre questions before, so feel free, even if it's a bit odd. Someone asking me if my map was to scale because they thought their country was a little small. Yeah. It's a great question. So for those who didn't hear it, is where do we go, basically? Do we get a preference and things like that? So it's a little bit, it's not quite like the military where they go, there's your assignment. It's a little bit of a negotiation. So depending on the family's needs, where they actually need you and your skills, there are different types of licenses. So I'm airframes and engines, or as some people will be avionics specialty. So it depends where they have the need. There might be a few options. At the moment, it's kind of a bit of a choice because there's such a shortage. So, yeah, we don't really know yet. I think we're quite open just to see where they suggest and just pray that the Lord sends us to the right place, really. Yep. Have I visited any of the places MAF works? Yes. I've actually been really fortunate in that when I worked in IT, I did some field trips. So I went out to MAF Uganda for a few days, stopped by MAF Kenya, as it's quite local. I used to work quite closely with our Dutch developers, so I've been to the Dutch office as well in Holland. We have 2 offices down in Folkestone, if they count as well, and I went to Madagascar once as well for another IT audit. So yeah, I mean, any of those places would be great. Yeah, we have a couple of countries that are French main speaking, so Chad and Madagascar. I'm not sure if there's any others as well, but I used to be fluent in French a long time ago, so I'm sure it will come back. I had to learn a little bit for my Madagascar visit, but there's multiple languages there actually, so they speak Malagasy as well. And depending if you're in the city or outside, that's who will speak which dialect. So yes, you might have to do some language school. Often it can be a case that you can work there, because I'll be doing engineering. English is the primary language of engineering, as it is with software, which is very fortunate for us English folk. So yeah, I'll still be able to work, and then we'll have to learn as we live in a community speaking a different language, yes. Yep. It can vary greatly depending on what happens. MAF likes to be quite a lean organization. In this climate, we have to be especially. So if somewhere is no longer producing the value that we would like to give to the people there, then sometimes programs get kind of cut and moved on to other places. A great example, I think it was in Mongolia, there was a large bridge that was built that really connected 2 parts of the country together. And as such, MAF's need to be there really changed. So yeah, we do like to move on. And as that happens, then we don't know. It could be a 2-year placement. It could be, they could ask us to go to somewhere that needs somewhere more. It can vary, so. Yeah. That's a great question. One that we're hoping will be answered with prayer. We've started... That varies greatly from countries, so... Yeah, I mean, when I used to work in IT, actually, we had this issue. So Papua New Guinea is one of the places we're in. They have quite a small bandwidth there. And people would want to go into work and try and download their Netflix for home later. But we've got we're talking 2 megabits per second for an office of 50 people. And so, yeah, that can be interesting. So, yeah, building up a DVD collection slowly is part of the answer to that. In other places, things like 3G routers are quite common. But yeah, it's one of those things you could have really cheap housing there, but your utilities, your internet could be really expensive, so it can vary really wildly. But yeah, we like books and board games, so that'll be our whole luggage allowance. Will be that just full of board games, I'm sure. Great question though. Yep. Some of them, they do, yeah. So we're hoping that many of the things that the girls and I are into will be there, because we'll be there for quite some time. So it's not just do the work and go home and that's it. You need to, a lot of the girls' childhood, in fact, all of their childhood will be pretty much overseas from this point. So yes, I know that some of the countries do, but that varies. I'm sure we can find things that are fun to do. I spoke to one guy who was Australian, and he said, yeah, it's a bit different when you're here, but, the kids after school can go and look after and wash the elephants. So that's something they wouldn't have done in Australia. So things can vary, yeah. If there's no further questions, then I'll pass over to Dave. But please come and speak to me whilst we're still around. We're here for another month or so, as I said. But I'll let everyone know before we actually suddenly disappear. But yeah, thank you very much, everyone.
Now, I'm trying to decide